This is TWiT.
Now is the time of the show where we get into the Enterprise Byte. This story comes to us from Ars Technica. A while back, the fast, but not the fastest supercomputer in the world, well, they reported that they were going to retire. Just 5 years ago, the Roadrunner was built by the United States Department of Energy. It modeled the decay of the United States nuclear arsenal, which was, quite an important job. It cost $120 million to build and was based on custom-made silicon that was based on the IBM/Sony/consortium cell processor. So imagine a bunch of PS3s super souped up in a huge room that took up 6,000 square feet. It also had 296 server racks and 122,400 cores that were interconnected via InfiniBand. It was a fantastic feat of engineering at the time, and $122 million actually wasn't that much when you consider the kind of processing power that they were getting. Specifically, they were pulling down, I believe, 1.042 petaflops, which is enough now to have them ranked as 22. Well, Ars Technica reported a while back that the supercomputer was being retired, not because it wasn't fast. At number 22 on the supercomputing list, it's still plenty fast. The problem is that it is no longer efficient. And the reason why it's no longer efficient is because it pulls in too much power. Number 21 on the list, which is faster than the Department of Energy supercomputer, only required 1,777 kilowatt hours, while number 23, which is one slower, and just, I believe, 0.012 petaflop slower, only used half, 493 kilowatt hours, versus Roadrunner's 2,345. So otherwise, it was a power hog. Now, Brian, let me ask you. We've seen this in the past where old equipment starts getting retired because it's no longer cost efficient to keep it running. And it's not just the amount of power it runs, it's also the amount of cooling it requires and the amount of rack space that it demands. Is this something that we're used to seeing? Is 5 years a long time to keep running a single supercomputer?
Actually, 3 years is considered a long time. The University of Hawaii was part of the consortium with the U.S. Air Force that runs the Maui Supercomputer Center. And the Air Force actually retired a cluster called JAWS. Now, JAWS was interesting. It's all IBM computers, InfiniBand cross connects and so forth, pretty fast. But when they retired it because they wanted to get more power, one of the other reasons was there was an order of magnitude savings in the cost of running it. Now, if you draw, say, for instance, just under a gigawatt of power, that means you also need a gigawatt of cooling. And you got to start doing the numbers. Some supercomputer centers draw so much power that they have their own power substation. So anyway, the University of Hawaii Computer Center, the Information Technology Services people, actually inherited JAWS. But even though it was a perfectly good supercomputer, we only turned on part of it. And even half the old supercomputer was going to put us back close to $2 million a year in power. So you start getting into this, wow, by changing out the machines to something that's, say, twice as efficient, I can save maybe $1 million in power and cooling. Wow, that sounds all very worthwhile.